Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In the last video you saw, we used this horizontal bandsaw to cut the ends, the additional pieces we need to make this even narrower. Real nice cuts out of it. Straight. Usually I use a grinder, but sometimes I don't like doing that. I always get them straight, which is nice, but there's always that chance. This one I can line up a little better. I can eyeball it. It's a little slower, but it's such more of a nice, perfect straight cut. So now we'll bevel the axle housing now that we have it where we want it. Once we bevel both sides, we'll go ahead and weld the axle housing up. Then we can start putting the housing together while we're waiting on the new axle shafts. We'll go ahead and shorten the brake lines, get the hubs on, the calipers on, all of it. We'll get it all back together and might even get it back in the truck. And then once the axles come, we'll slap it in, them in. We'll see. We'll see how we feel. All right, let's get these ends beveled up. Now we have the ends all beveled up and ready to go. Those look good. Both sides, like I said, we did both of these. Now we can go ahead and bevel the axle side. Again, once we do that, then we'll put it back on the jig. Double check our numbers, which I already did, but we'll double check them again. Looks like it's gonna be 3 1/4. Just what we want. That'll give you 1/4 inches in on that lip. So like I said, there'll be plenty of room, even if you wanted to lay frame on them 26s, to go ahead and put it to the floor. Keep on moving. If you haven't yet hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, go ahead and hit that like if you've been liking this video, been following along. And leave me a comment. That'll help the algorithm. All right, like I said, let's continue and get this done. Everything's beveled and set in the jig. See how nice and close everything is. It'll be tight in there. Got it here. We'll go ahead and close the lid. Put that bolt on it. It'll keep everything out of there. As you can see, they're in. Next, I'll get the perch set flat again, and then we'll get the hoist and the leaf spring set up so we can mark and tack where I'm clocking these at. I've already checked the measurement. Measurements are good. All right, I'm gonna close the door. It's starting to rain, and then we're gonna get back on it. ready to go. Got it all set up. Now that you saw that I clocked it, I now have them marked. Both of them. Now I can go ahead and start the welding process and tack where I need to tack them. And then we'll, like I said, do the welding process. There's a certain procedure to keep the axle housing, the tube, from warping. You don't just weld it all the way around in one pass. There's multiple passes in multiple spots. And yeah, we'll go ahead and get this knocked out. Once we get these welded up, we'll get all our numbers and specs that we need. And we'll call up Mosier and order a brand new set of axles. The length has been double and triple checked, and it has been tacked in the order it's supposed to be in the 4 spots. Can't see where the tack is, but you can still kind of see the black lines are lined up on both sides. Everything's nice and tight and lined up. Look again, you can see right there, it's all lined up nicely. We'll do the root pass in the order that you're supposed to do them in. You do opposite sides back to back, let them cool, go to that side back to back, spin it, do the other opposite sides back to back, and then the same with that. Then you go back and do your cap pass. So we'll get this done. Like I said, I need to write all my numbers down and we'll order these axles in a bit. If you haven't yet, go hit that subscribe button. All right, thanks guys. Let's get this done. Fully welded up. All the way around, both sides. Just check the temperature, 213 degrees. Nice and toasty. Everything all butted up nicely over here, up on the spring perch. So now we'll let this cool naturally. I'll still keep the fans off of it. Normally I'll aim them down towards me, but with this stuff we want to cool naturally. I can still move these nice and freely. They're a little warm, so I don't want to hold them. But we'll go ahead and let these cool for a little bit, and then we can start reassembling everything. But first, I'm going to go ahead and get all my information, and I'm going to order the Mosier axles. That way we can get those made in here as soon as possible. Next up is to install the speed sensor tone rings. Replace these every time. Last thing I need is one to get damaged when we pulled it out. Even though you may not see any damage, you go to put it in and the speed sensors not work. Because of why? You put in a possible damaged tone ring. So I replace them every time. Same with the bearings. Brand new bearings, and the seals. There's no reason not to. You're already in there. Just change them out. They have to be removed to do this, so why not? already painted all the way around, as you saw. Ready to go. So we'll get these installed. Once those are installed, then we can put the rest of the components on. The parking brake, the dust shields, and all that. We'll get this ready to go. We'll do the brake lines. We'll get it all ready to go. So when the axles get here, we can slide them right in. Like I said before, new tone rings have been installed, as you can see in there. Brand new bearings and new seals on both sides. Added a little bit of fluid into the bearings, spun them around, got them pre-lubricated, put some fluid in there on the gear a little bit, and the same with this side. Next, we'll get the carrier in. We'll get the caps on and get those torqued down, and then we'll put the cover on temporarily. Then we'll go ahead and put all the rest of the stuff on so we can work on the brake lines. I'll be right back as I need to double check the torque specs for these and for the bearing caps. And then we'll continue getting whatever else we can get done. I believe I can put a cover on that temporarily, and then we can start working on the brake line. Because I really can't put anything else back on this axle housing until I get the axle shafts in. Then I can do the brake calipers, brake caliper brackets, and then the brake calipers. Then it should be able to go up underneath the truck. As you saw, torqued the caps, they're ready to go. Got the brake lines set up where they go. I'm gonna leave these part, all this center part, and I'm going to bend and shorten this to match this here. I'll temporarily mock up the brakes so I can have the female end mounted in here so I know exactly where these are all gonna go. I'll probably put that one back in. I'll get it to where it's like stock. You'll never even really know it's been narrowed unless you look for it. All right, moving right along. left now is to clean up the ends and to double flare them. I'll have to, once they're double flared, then I'll be able to bend them into place. I really wanted to cut them down to here, but you gotta have enough room to use the double flare tool. And I don't want to get rid of that bend, as trying to bend these with the flare on them, there's not much room in the bender. Probably won't work with that on there. I'll need a tighter bender. I'd have to measure between these two, and that's your minimum length from the head to start bending. So we'll get on that, and the brake lines will be done. Beautiful little brake ends. We just double flared them and they fit perfectly. They look beautiful. Look at that. All right, so now these are flared, both ends. Both ends be looking good. A little bit of that rubber coating that's on it, I'll wipe that off. But ready to go. Shortened and ready. So now we'll stick it back on here. I'll have to do a little bit of bending on the ends, because for me to be able to get that kind of meat, to be able to flare it, I had to straighten these ends a little bit. So we'll see what we can do to bend them close to where they need to be. That worked out really well. I like the way they came out. Everything stayed factory on this end. This will clear. As you can see, it goes right in. This will clear the emergency brake. Both sides will. If you didn't know what you were looking for, you wouldn't know this was narrowed. Like I said, both sides are aligned really well. Bad angle at the moment. Now it's straight. And then, again, won't block the e-brake. That's where that's going to connect, so it's got plenty of room. The axles are ordered. They should be in production today. So I got to wait for them to get shipped and delivered. Once they do, then we can slide them in, put the C-clips in, tighten the rod that goes in there and holds the C-clips and the axles from moving. Then we'll add the fluid, put the gasket on, bolt and torque these down, the cover. Then we can put it back underneath the truck, get everything buttoned up, and get the bed on. All right, I'll see you guys when the axles come in. When they get delivered, we'll get back on this video. back together. I'll still have to add some fluid once I get it in the truck. We'll pull the plug once it starts draining out, then you put it back in. It's not sitting level right now, or in the truck, however position it sits in. But we got the rotors on, caliper brackets, calipers, brake lines are secure, all back in the factory locations. These are just sitting here temporarily. All right, next we'll get it off this stand, get it on that one down there, and get it back up underneath the truck. Getting there one step at a time. Started to bolt down the flip kit I made, and well, the factory bolt does not fit between those two things. So if you see, I'm gonna make a plate like this other ones that you always see. It has a plate up here, and then you have a square piece that goes here. Luckily I have, and I keep random parts. Luckily I have some square U-bolts and the bolts to go with it. These are just a hair skinnier. I believe they're factory ones, but they fit with room. So I just need to make the top plate, which we can do on the table real quick. So we'll get some measurements and we'll design two top plates, one for each side. Then we can get this thing buttoned up and get the wheels on. Now that we have the top plates mounted and set in place, I went ahead, and as you saw on the bottom of these bolts were cut, and I made them flush with the nut, and then I Loctited them in, so now there is no movement. The heads are almost identical to the size of the factory hole that's in them. As you might be able to see in there, but locked in real nice. So everything except for the bottom plate was built in-house. Once I make the bottom plates, and then I'll have my own flip kits. Little by little, we'll be adding things to the in-house list of making them. All right, let's finish this up and get this back together. Show you also real quick the space we needed. That's the space we needed to get around the speed sensor the block or the flip kit, the leaf spring, all that. These fit perfectly. On the floor, wheels still need torqued, brakes need bled, and we're actually gonna raise it back up. Since the customer's waiting to do the notch, it sits a little too low, close to the bump stops. And when I measured it, it'll need the tubs cut out and possibly tubbed. So we're gonna bring it, raise the back up 2 inches. That way, when the customer's ready, we can do the tubs and the notch next. Then we'll get the bed on, get this thing out of here. Show you some more of this fitment. Nice amount of space, about a hand gap. That's as far as you're gonna get to that plate up there. So this is about as far as you can go with leaf springs. If you want to go any wider than this, you're going to have to do a 3-link, 4-link, coilovers or bagged. All right, like I said, let's go ahead and get this knocked out. That way the customer can come get this. I'm sure he's been waiting quite a bit of time for it. That was the last step. It's done. You know we had to tag it. All right, looks good. In case anyone wants to know, these are 26s. You can see that they're almost tucked in the same amount as the front. Almost perfect. Wow, that looks really good. And now if he wants to go lower, the wheels are 1/4 inch from touching this lip here. The wheels and tire are 1/4 inch in, so you have 1/4 inch space between this lip and the tire. So we didn't have to cut any of this at all, but he will have to, see if you can see in there. We'll have to cut right there. So we'll have to cut the tubs out if he wants to go lower. But this was fun. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. That way you can follow along on other builds I got coming on in, not just this one. We have all kinds lined up. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching.